Good morning, everyone. I'm Mishika Oberoi. I'm a student of Sanatan Dharma College, Ambala, Kent. Today, I'm going to represent my topic that is Electronic Tax Liability Register, which is defined under Section 49, subsection 7. First, we have its meaning. According to the Section 49, subsection 7, the tax liability register reflects the total tax liability of a taxpayer for the particular month. Once a taxpayer is registered on the common portal, that is GSTN, an electronic tax liability register will be automatically opened and displayed on his dashboard at all the times. Further, according to the provisions of Rule 85, the electronic tax liability register specified under subsection 7 of section 49 shall be maintained for each person who is liable to pay the tax, penalty, interest, late fee, or any other amount on the common portal, and all the amounts payable by him shall be debited to the said register. Also, any discrepancy will be communicated in the form GST PMT 4. दिस मीन्स जो भी टैक्स लाइबिलिटी रजिस्टर है वो रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा एक पर्टिकुलर टैक्सेबल पर्सन की लाइबिलिटी विच विल बी रिलेटेड टू अ पर्टिकुलर मंथ. ये रजिस्टर मेंटेन होगा फॉर ऑल द पर्सनस हु आर रजिस्टर्ड ऑन द कॉमन पोर्टल ऑफ GSTN. फर्दर जो प्रोविजंस हैं ऑफ रूल 85 वो डिफाइन करते हैं दैट दिस रजिस्टर विल रिफ्लेक्ट द लाइबिलिटी ऑफ अ टैक्सेबल पर्सन जो कि होंगी इन द फॉर्म ऑफ टैक्स, पेनल्टी, लेट फी और एनी टाइप ऑफ फाइन. फर्दर कोई भी डिस्क्रिपेंसी दैट इज़ कोई भी ऐसा एरर और एनी फ्रॉड अकरिंग इन सच रजिस्टर वो कम्युनिकेट किया जाएगा टू अ पर्टिकुलर ऑफिसर इन द फॉर्म GST PMT 4. Further, we have the provisions related with the electronic liabilities registers. We have three basic provisions. First is maintenance of electronic liabilities register. Second is the debit and credit to the electronic liabilities ledger. Third, we have the discharging tax liability. We are firstly studying with our first provision, that is maintenance of electronic liabilities ledger. All the liabilities of a taxable person under CGST Act shall be recorded and maintained in an electronic liability register. This register is to be maintained in form GST PMT 1. दिस मीन्स दैट जो भी पर्सन की लाइबिलिटीज़ हैं, जो भी एक टैक्सेबल पर्सन की लाइबिलिटीज़ हैं, वो रिकॉर्ड की जाएंगी एंड मेंटेन की जाएंगी इन द सेड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक लाइबिलिटीज़ लेजर. दिस लेजर शैल बी मेंटेन्ड इन द फॉर्म GST PMT 1. Next, and the second provision, we have the debit and credit to the electronic liabilities register. Our register is divided into two parts. First is the debit and second is the credit. All the amounts payable are to be debited and all amounts paid are to be credited. This means that जो भी amount हमारा taxable person liable होगा to pay, they shall be debit and all the amounts which are paid to the taxpayer are to be credited. These are the list of the amounts which are to be debited and credited. First, we are studying with the debits to the electronic liabilities register. All amounts payable shall be debited to the electronic liabilities register and include the following. First is tax and other dues in the form of interest, late fee, or any other amount as per the return. Second is the tax and other dues, interest, late fee, or any other amount determined by the proper officer. Third, we have the tax and interest due to mismatch. And the last, we have any type of interest. This means that कोई भी ऐसा tax या other dues in the form of interest or late fee which are determined as per the return of the taxpayer or which are determined the proper officer, या कोई भी ऐसा tax या interest which is determined by the mismatch of the previous returns, या कोई भी type का interest which the taxable person is liable to pay shall be debited. Next, we have the credits to the electronic liabilities register. Electronic tax liability register will be credited with all the amounts of the tax, interest, penalty, and other amounts which are paid by debiting the electronic credit ledger, by debiting the electronic cash ledger, by any relief given by the appellate authority, tribunal, court in respect of the demand which is debited in the electronic tax liability register. दिस मीन्स दैट हमारा जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक लाइबिलिटी रजिस्टर है वो क्रेडिट किया जाएगा विद ऑल द अमाउंट्स विच आर क्रिएटेड बाय डेबिटिंग द इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कैश लेजर और क्रेडिट लेजर या कोई भी ऐसा रिलीफ विच इज़ गिवन बाय द एपिलेट अथॉरिटी ट्रिब्यूनल या कोर्ट. From these three amounts, all the liability ledgers will be credited. Last provision we have, that is discharging tax liability. According to the provisions of section 49 subsection 8, every taxable person shall follow a sequence for discharging tax liability related with the tax dues, other dues and any other amount payable under CGST Act. The provisions relating to sequence for discharging tax liabilities are given below. First is types of tax liability. Second is the sequence of discharging tax liability. This provision means that एक particular taxable person follow करेगा एक particular sequence for discharging his tax liability arising in a particular month. First we have the types of tax liabilities. For understanding the sequence for discharging the tax liability, we have divided our tax liability under CGST Act into three parts. First part we have the tax dues, which include only the tax payable. Second part is the other dues that include the interest, penalty, fee or any other amount payable under CGST Act. And the last part is any other amount which is payable include the demand determined under section 73 and 74. Further, this can be illustrated as following. First, we have the tax dues, which means the tax payable under CGST Act and does not include the interest, fee and penalty. Second, we have the other dues, which means the interest, penalty, fee or any other amount payable under CGST Act or the rules made thereunder. Last, we have any other amount which is payable under this Act or the rules made thereunder, including the demand determined under Section 73 or 74. This means that सबसे पहले हमारे पास आते हैं टैक्स ड्यूज जो कि इंक्लूड करते हैं ओनली द टैक्सेस विच द टैक्सेबल पर्सन इज़ लायबल टू पे. ये इंक्लूड नहीं करते किसी भी टाइप का इंटरेस्ट, पेनल्टी और लेट फी. सेकेंड टाइप वी हैव द अदर ड्यूज़. अदर ड्यूज़ इंक्लूड करते हैं ऑल द टाइप ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, पेनल्टी और लेट फ़ी और कोई भी ऐसी अमाउंट विच इज़ पेबल अंडर द CGST एक्ट. एंड द थर्ड पार्ट इज़ द अदर अमाउंट्स पेबल. अदर अमाउंट्स पेबल इंक्लूड करती हैं ऑल द डिमांड्स जो कि डिटरमाइन की जाती हैं अंडर सेक्शन 73 एंड सेक्शन 74. Last, we have the sequence of discharging the tax liability. एक particular taxable person follow करेगा एक sequence for discharging his tax liability. Firstly, discharge will be of the tax and other dues of the previous tax periods. Secondly, discharge will be the tax and other dues of the current tax period. And lastly, discharge will be any other amount payable under CGST Act. It can be illustrated as following. First, we have the payment of tax and other dues of the previous tax periods. Every taxable person shall discharge firstly self-assessed tax and other dues relating to the returns of the previous tax periods. Secondly, we have the payment of tax and other dues of the current tax period, which include that after that self-assessed tax and other dues relating to the return of the current tax period will be discharged. Third is any other amount payable, which include any amount payable under CGST Act or the rules made thereunder, including the demand determined under Section 73 or Section 74 are discharged. दिस मीन्स दैट एक टैक्सेबल पर्सन सबसे पहले अपनी टैक्स ड्यूज और अदर लाइबिलिटीज़ विच आर रिलेटिंग टू द प्रीवियस टैक्स पीरियड्स उनको डिस्चार्ज करेंगे। सेकेंडली, जो भी टैक्सेबल पर्सन है वो अपनी करंट ईयर की टैक्स ड्यूज या अदर लाइबिलिटीज़ को डिस्चार्ज करेंगे। एंड थर्डली, the amount which is payable or demand determined under section 73 or 74 shall be discharged. Last, we are going to conclude our presentation. It is concluded that the electronic tax liability register defined under subsection 7 of section 49 and rule 85 shall be maintained in form GST PMT 1 for each person who is liable to pay the tax, interest, penalty, late fee, or any other amount on the common portal. Also, all the amounts payable shall be debited and all the amounts shall be paid which are to be credited. The registered person shall, upon noticing any discrepancy in his electronic liability register, communicate the same to the officer exercising jurisdiction in the manner through the common portal in form GST PMT 4। हम इस प्रेजेंटेशन से ये कंक्लूड कर सकते हैं दैट हमारा रजिस्टर शैल बी मेंटेन्ड इन फॉर्म GST PMT 1। फर्दर, ये डिफ़ाइन किया गया है अंडर सेक्शन 49 सब सेक्शन 7 एंड रूल 85। ये रजिस्टर रिफ्लेक्ट करेगा ऑल द लाइबिलिटीज़ ऑफ अ टैक्सेबल पर्सन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, फी, पेनल्टी और लेट फाइन। Further, all the amounts which are paid by the taxable person shall be debited and all the amounts paid to the taxable person shall be credited in the said register। और कोई भी डिस्क्रिपेंसी अगर होने पर पर्सन एक प्रॉपर ऑफिसर को कम्युनिकेट करेंगे इन द फॉर्म GST PMT 4। Further, the reference to this presentation is given in the book of the Goods and Services Tax of VK Publications and Tax Laws Book of ICSI. Thank you.